Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your filthy casual place where all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, just another filthy casual fan here on this show. And this is episode number 157 on this icy yet spicy podcast on, well, yes, we call it sports. Today, we got another good show for you all because we got ourselves more wrestling to talk about. Yes, after a month of not talking about it, because of our NFL season preview month, which is all but wrapped up now. We're here back to talk about wrestling. And why are we here to talk about wrestling once again? Well, as I promised over a month ago, well, we're here to provide you a review about an event that took place this past Saturday down in the Motor City of Detroit. And we're here to provide you that super late, out-of-date review of SummerSlam from WWE. Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. A super late, out-of-date review of the biggest party of the summer that took place this past Saturday. And, well, because of reasons I will get into, I'm going to be providing you this late review, SummerSlam. And also, I'm going to be providing you the Monday Night Raw fallout from SummerSlam 2023 in this episode as well. So, we got a lot to talk about here on episode 157 of Very Cold Lasagna. And a little bit of housekeeping first before we get into things. Obviously, as I mentioned, the reason why this review is super late, out of date. If you follow my Twitter, we're not calling it X, by the way, because Elon's a stupid idiot. But anyway, I digress. The reason why I didn't do a review of SummerSlam much sooner than I thought I would is because I went on a camping trip with my family this past weekend. It was a fun time, by the way. And yeah, so I had no way to watch the event. But, you know, it's better to, you know, get away from everything, relax. And after, like, what was it, a month of trying to relentlessly see what was going on, get everything prepped for y'all for what was to come, and, like, all throughout the month of July for, like, whether you're an NFL fan or not, with my NFL season preview coverage. So it was a little bit nice little getaway for both myself, fam, and yeah, it was just relaxing that weekend. I did get a chance to catch up, obviously, when I got back. And man, I have a lot to say about this SummerSlam. Although there's some things that they're probably not going to... some of you may not like. But anyway, yeah, that's why I'm providing you this super late, out-of-date review. It is late. But yeah, that's what we're going to get into just a bit. And then, of course, you can follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And if you're listening to this on audio, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you rate and review the show. Yeah, leave a 5-star, 1-star, any star review, and yeah, leave all your feedback that you would like if you're listening to this on audio wherever you go. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you leave a like, smash the subscribe button, leave a comment, please, with your own takes on what I talk about, the topics that I talk about in each episode. And then share this with your friends, share this with the stranger, share this with your neighbor, share this with anybody that's into sports, not to sports, because yeah, you want to keep this gravy train rolling. Eat that very cold lasagna that's in the fridge, wherever it may be. Doesn't have to be real, obviously. But you never know. You never know. But yeah, in all seriousness, yeah, thank you for the support that's been going on these last couple of months with Very Cold Lasagna, especially on YouTube. It really means the world to me. And yeah, all your feedback, good or bad, it really helps out myself and how to improve and where to grow. And especially going forward. So a couple things to watch out for in the next, I don't know, I guess in the next month or so. I will continue to provide you guys some content. I'm not sure what that may be, but just be on the lookout. Just be on the lookout of what could that possibly entail in this month. And then next month, we're heading into the actual real meat of the NFL. The new season is starting. I have not exactly laid out a plan of how exactly I want to cover this NFL season yet. It might be the same as last year. You know, I might do the regular weekly previews, recaps, and all that. But, you know, my life is outside of this podcast has changed so much since then that it might not be that possible. But we will see. We'll test it out week 1, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, yeah, I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to cover the NFL like regular season this year. So it'll be interesting. And then obviously we have a couple pay-per-views coming up for the WWE. Unlike last year where I didn't cover anything at all for the rest of the year for WWE, AEW, and all that. But I mean, at least it's a little bit somewhat talking about nowadays. So I will try to squeeze in some like pay-per-view reviews and all that, and any other interesting topics that are worth talking about. So that being said, let's get into our main topic of the day, and that is obviously our SummerSlam review. So, you know, going into this event, I didn't have a lot of expectations because obviously I was too juggled up. I was too busy with preparing, developing, and just getting all this stuff for NFL season preview month. Like just constantly, my mind was like bungled with like NFL stuff. I mean, obviously that's no excuse on my part. But nonetheless, it was just like WWE was kind of like on the wayside again, in favor of the NFL. But, you know, I've been tuning in, like, I guess, like on occasion, see what's going on, especially with the Bloodline story. You know, that's honestly the only thing worth mentioning, with wrestling nowadays. But as for this event itself, overall, when you look at the match card, I didn't have a lot of expectations going in. There wasn't really a lot to be excited for other than the main event and maybe one other match, I guess, per se. But other than that, there wasn't really, again, not a lot to look forward to. It's the biggest part of the summer. It was going to be another stadium show for WWE. It was going to be, in, like I said, in Detroit, Michigan, in Ford Field, home of the Detroit Lions, by the way. So Michael Cole actually gave them a shout out. So yeah, your future NFC North champions, ladies and gentlemen, is already gave that shout out from Michael Cole. I mean, if that's worth anything, that's worth a damn. So anyway, let's get into the show itself. You basically open the show with a cold open from Kid Rock, and everyone's like all up in arms about Kid Rock prior to the event. Like, why Kid Rock of all people? I mean, honestly, I didn't really care myself, but it was a stupid, like, minor thing that people were complaining about. You know, all the Karens like on social media were bitching about it. But anyway, we opened the show with our first match of the night: Ricochet versus Logan Paul. We can all get angry about Logan Paul on what he does, like on social media outside of WWE, but you know, when it comes to actual him being in WWE, like, man, you cannot deny that Logan Paul brings his absolute A game. Like, he is honestly one of the few highlights out of then Roman Reigns, and I don't know, like, I guess probably just him and Roman and a couple others. But you know, he's only been here for like, I think it's like a year or two now, and he's a part-timer and all that, but he brings his A game. He always constantly improves in each and every appearance. And yeah, there's still a lot of things to work on with Logan Paul in terms of, you know, character and like his promo skills, but it's like that natural charisma and, you know, him being a YouTuber. It's just like, yeah, there's definitely room to grow, but it's just like he's always finding ways to improve. So definitely always excited to see Logan Paul, at least in the WWE, obviously. So, you know, this match basically went on first. A little side note here. So Logan Paul could fly out quick to catch his brother Jake fight Nate Diaz in a boxing match in Dallas. So yeah, they basically had this match on first so Logan could fly out in his private jet. And this feud was basically just about both men getting angry at each other because they believed one or the other cost themselves money in the bank last month when they were competing in it. I mentioned before about that dangerous spot that they tried to do, like the Spanish fly through the table, but they nearly killed themselves by botching it. But if you want to know my full thoughts, listen to the Money in the Bank review. But anyway, during like 5 days before SummerSlam, Logan Paul took some shots at Ricochet's fiance, and who happens also to be the Raw ring announcer, Samantha Irvin, who, by the way, pretty good ring announcer. I'll give it that. And then for the match itself, Logan Paul, again, at his absolute prime, no pun intended, for much of the match, healing up the crowd, showing off his athleticism, and then hitting a lot of like signature moves of old legends, like Hulk Hogan, hitting his own variation of a leg drop, like a split leg drop. Ironically, in the same state that WrestleMania 3 was in the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan, which is now demolished, but still, Logan Paul hitting that leg drop. I'm like, man, you really are an asshole. And then a pot shot to Ricochet's injured tag team partner, Braun Strowman. He hit a running power slam. It's like, some people may not get that, but it's like, ooh, like, all right then. But Ricochet honestly had probably one of his best, if not his best matches here in WWE. He had his own athleticism. For much as I knock on Ricochet for being a typical flips and kicks guy with not a lot of charisma, especially on the mic, but he matched up Logan Paul very well here. He had this crazy hurricane neck breaker that Michael Cole called it off the top rope. And then he sold a crazy reverse tornado DDT reversal from Logan Paul. And then they recreated the Spanish fly DDT that they actually landed right. And then they both landed on their feet. Ricochet would eventually hit the Spanish fly on Paul on the floor. And then, yeah, they went on back and forth for a couple more minutes. And then Ricochet, he tried to go for his finisher, the 630 splash, but Logan moved out of the way at the last moment. And then while the referee was checking on Ricochet, his back, my back, one of Logan's buddies, his Impulsive Crew, came by ringside, and then he gave Logan some brass knuckles, and then Logan would use his one lucky punch that is now made of solid steel to win the match against Ricochet. The referee unaware that Logan used brass knucks. So I like this. This is a fun opener. I really appreciate the athleticism of both men. That includes Ricochet also, even though, again, I kind of knew going in that Logan Paul was going to win this match, and he definitely needed to win this match because, well, hate him all you want, but he's been killing it in nearly everything that he's been doing so far. He's a natural heel. And now that after taking consecutive losses to both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in big time matchups, definitely needed a win here. And he got that against Ricochet at SummerSlam. So definitely got himself back on track in potentially whatever match he does next against potentially another big opponent. I definitely don't imagine probably not this year because, well, he has another boxing matchup. I think in October, so you probably won't see Logan Paul for the rest of the year. But yeah, and then as for Ricochet, well, he's not really doing much now, so I don't expect anything for him to come out of this. But nonetheless, still a fun opener. Again, one of Ricochet's best matches, if not his best, against Logan Paul. So credit where credit is due. So their second matchup of the night was one of the first of 4 main events. Yes, there were 4 main events, like for whatever damn reason. I don't know why they do this, but I don't know. So anyway, we had our second match of the night, and this one came surprisingly early. I guess one of them wanted to go home early, and that was Cody Rhodes taking on Brock Lesnar in the third and final match of their saga. Yeah, WWE was promoting this as a saga in the Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar feud, which honestly cannot be a saga when there has been no reasoning since the night after WrestleMania. So for those of you unaware, Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes in the main event of Raw on the night after WrestleMania when they were supposed to team up against Roman Reigns and I believe it was Jey Uso. I don't remember, but one of the Usos. Oh no, Solo Sikoa. And then, like when they were doing the introductions, like it was like a little abnormal for a regular tag team matchup. And then Brock Lesnar out of nowhere F5s Cody, and then he attacks him and all that, yada yada. And then for the whole summer, there was basically no explanation. They were just fighting each other, and then they fought each other at Backlash. Cody won that. Lesnar got the second win at Night of Champions, and then yeah, they're still, even before SummerSlam, when they agreed to a third and final match, they offered no explanation. And the worst thing of this is that there was speculation. There was these dirt sheeters that said there's going to be a stipulation for this. And to be honest with you, it definitely needed a stipulation because it's like, you know, there's the third and final match and there's no stipulation. It's like, this is really going to be just a straight up wrestling match. Like, really? After 2 matches of absolutely no heat and Brock Lesnar still not explaining why he attacked Cody in the first place. Like, why? It's so dumb. This whole like backstory or lack of backstory behind this feud, it's like, it's just pointless, man. And we know what Cody's gonna do. Like, you know how WWE's gonna position Cody in this, but it's still dumb. It's still dumb. But for this match, you know, it's pretty substandard. It's like Cody is trying to get the early offense in, and he did against Lesnar. But then Lesnar took his ass to Suplex City. You know, he got his own offense in, and then once you get to the midway point in this match, then that's when it kicked me a little bit, just a little. It became apparent to me that the reason, like, at least this is what came to my conclusion. Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes the night after WrestleMania because he apparently wanted to test Cody's limits, and whether he was ready to be the franchise face of WWE. That's what my conclusion came to be when we got to the midway point in this match. Because let's talk about what happened during this midway point. You know, Lesnar takes Cody Rhodes to Suplex City. Ironically, the same place that John Cena went the very first time 9 years ago at SummerSlam. And then, you know, he took him multiple times, like nearly on the verge of breaking what Lesnar's personal suplex record. And then Lesnar kept throwing Cody outside of the ring and, you know, trying to get a count out victory for whatever reason. Like, you know, why didn't you just do a last man standing match? But I get it. You didn't want Lesnar to lose another last man standing match after last year's crazy matchup against Roman. And then, you know, you do all these moves to try to get Cody counted out, like Suplex City on the floor, F5 on the floor, but Cody just kept coming back in, and then just like, okay, I'm starting to get it a little bit that, yeah, they're trying to test Cody to see if he's really ready to be the guy. It's like, okay, I know where this is going. So Brock Lesnar eventually starts getting mad. He's getting furious. He's like, grrr. I'm like, why won't you stay down? Like, this is for your safety, Cody, and all that. So pretty much, Cody starts to rally. He would push Lesnar into the LED post twice, hit some disaster kicks, Cody cutters. The rally was basically on by this point. And then he even hit Brock Lesnar with the steel steps. Like, wait, hold on a second. He hit Lesnar with the steel steps. Shouldn't that equate to a disqualification because it was just a regular straight up wrestling match? Logic gap, like rules, ref, do your job. Big nose, Triple H, like where's the logic here? But logic gap, ripped pants aside from Brock Lesnar. You know, Cody got back in the match, but Brock Lesnar locked in the Kimura lock. Cody Rhodes escaped it and then locked in his own Kimura lock on Lesnar. And then, you know, Lesnar powered out of it, but Cody quickly hit 3 of his, you know, trifecta Cody Rhodes crossroads straight to win the match against Brock Lesnar, and then the trilogy, the definitive edition on Lesnar. So there you go. Cody Rhodes wins the third and final matchup against Lesnar. I mean, it was an okay. Like I didn't really bother to like care for the match too much because like again, how can I care about this trilogy matchup when there's not really too much to like care for it? Like there's no backstory. It's like why are they still feuding? So it didn't make a whole lot of sense on why this is happening. I mean, again, they gave us a little bit of reasoning during the match. Like you kind of had to figure it out, which is stupid. But I mean, it's something. I'll give him that. You know, credit to both men trying to make something out of nothing, trying to give viewers a reason to finally tell a story. You know, like Lesnar trying to test Cody and see if he's ready to be that guy. And then that was like the clear indication after what happened post match. Lesnar got up, stared down Cody one last time, and then he shook his hand. Like Lesnar acknowledged Cody Rhodes. So some people were complaining about it. Like I know like Attitude Era casual fans were bitching and moaning about, oh, like really Lesnar really shook Cody Rhodes' hands. I mean, yeah, I have a little bit reservations on that, but nonetheless, I mean, what can we really do at this point? We know that this is going to happen. Anyway, you know, Cody Rhodes has that acknowledgement, has that endorsement from Brock Lesnar. Lesnar rose his hand up, and then, yeah, that's the sign that, you know, Cody Rhodes is going to be that dude. You knew if Brock Lesnar even gave you an endorsement, he got your respect, then yeah, you know Cody is gonna be that guy whether you want to accept it or not. And I don't know if I can accept it, but how? You know, again, like what I said about this match, it was okay. I'd say it's the best out of the three. It's not saying much though. But I wouldn't hate this feud so much if they gave a little bit of reasoning. They explained that reason like even 5 days before with that promo package. But now you have to answer the question for if you're WWE, what do you do now for both men? Like what's next for both Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes? Excuse me. For Brock Lesnar, I don't know if he's going to show up at any point for the rest of 2023. But if he does, is he going to go back to being a babyface? I guess from what we saw in this post match, it certainly looks like it will be. And if so, I mean, it'd be nice because I certainly liked Cowboy Brock Lesnar. It was a refreshing change of pace for the last year and a half from what we saw the last decade with Brock being just like silent. Yeah, sure, he was kicking ass. But, you know, still with Cowboy Brock, you know, he's still kicking ass. And, you know, he's being more charismatic. And he actually could talk. Like, compared to his 2003 mic skills and now, back in early this year. And then when he first started doing the Cowboy Brock stuff, it was good. It was really good. It was like a refreshing change of pace of Brock Lesnar. But we'll have to wait and see which Brock Lesnar we're going to get, what his next feud's going to be. Who knows if we're going to get Brock Lesnar in the near future. And then for Cody Rhodes, now that his feud is done, Brock Lesnar is done, it's like, what do you do with Cody between now and the next 8 months? Because you know what's going to happen at that certain place, that little place down in Eagles Landing. But we'll talk about that when we get there in the end portion of our SummerSlam review. So the Lesnar feud, like I said, is all wrapped up. But what do you do for Cody after this? What's his next major feud? It's like not very obvious. Like there's not a lot of people on Raw that he can feud with in the meantime. Like who do you even not even a returning superstar could be good enough to feud with Cody. And even the returning superstar would have to give the rub to Cody. So it's going to be on WWE, for as much as the detractors can hate it all they want. I'm just trying to be neutral here. Like, if WWE wants to keep fans invested for the next, like, 8 months, or since we're technically on the road to WrestleMania, August, 4 to 5 months invested in him finishing the story, then they have to find something. Like, they have to find like a little bit of a couple of filler feuds for him, like actual meaningful filler feuds, so they can continue to be invested in Cody, other than, you know, the theme song, whoa, and all that. So yeah, this match was okay. Nothing particularly interesting to take note of, but hey, at least it's over, right? So next up, we had the SummerSlam Slim Jim Battle Royale. I saw a lot of people complain about this on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you use. The wrestling community on the internet were getting up in arms about this because, you know, this sponsored Battle Royale that WWE is making a lot of money on took precedence over 2 women's matches that served more purpose. And, you know, I thought we were going to get those 2 women's matches on the card. I mean, I'm not like any, you know, women's wrestling advocate or anything per se, but I mean, I'm just trying to speak for myself. Okay. Like, you know, if for me, like women's wrestling, I like to have that equal. I'd like to have that little bit of balance, you know, balance. But anyway, that's a little bit of side note there. We're sidetracking here. But with this Battle Royale, again, some people were getting upset about it because it was taking precedence over 2 women's matches that served more purpose. While some of that is true, like I said, we have to face the reality about these women's matches. So the first one that people were getting upset about was Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. Yes, those 2 have name value, especially, I guess you could say Becky Lynch per se in the modern times, and then Trish Stratus in for the legend status. The problem with this feud, though, it's been one of the worst feuds for WWE this year. It's because like there hasn't been a lot of heat behind it. Like, fans are not getting behind a heel Trish Stratus, like a villainous Trish Stratus, and Trish Stratus doesn't feel like she's really buying into being a heel, not all that much. And Becky's promos have really gotten worse. It's like since after WrestleMania 35, it's like it kind of slowly took in a dip, and then it just since it came back, it's like so yeah. So anyway, in this feud, it's like there's not really a lot of substance to it other than, oh, Becky, you should be thanking me. Thank you, Becky. And then they introduced Zoe Stark at Night of Champions on the main roster, like reintroduced Zoe Stark, I guess, at Night of Champions as Trish's protege. And then outside of that, they haven't really done a whole lot with this feud. So now they're having this match, not at SummerSlam, but in Canada, and that got Trish and Becky angry. And it's like, well, what to really be angry about? You didn't have a whole lot to work with in terms of this feud, so can't really blame you there. And then for the other women's match, you had the women's world title match between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. This one is a little bit of a different case because, well, WWE didn't have a lot of time to build up towards this match. Because keep in mind, when they actually started building up for this match, it was like, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, like 3 to 4 weeks prior to SummerSlam. And they were teasing like that matchup between Rhea and Raquel with like a couple of stare downs and whatnot. And then they really started amping it up with like, you know, Rhea attacking Natalya, and then Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, you know, chasing off Rhea, and then Rhea getting all angry. I was like, you shouldn't have gone to my business. It's like, well, weren't you getting in their business in the first place or whatnot? But anyway, I'm sidetracking again. So, you know, they have more stare downs, and then Rhea attacks Liv, headbutting her, and then Rhea goes after the leg of Raquel, and then that technically costs Liv and Raquel the tag team championships against Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green a couple weeks ago on Raw. And then in the main event of that Raw, Liv Morgan attacked Rhea Ripley as payback for what she did to Raquel. And then the next week, Liv actually suffered a legit injury in that show closing angle, so they had to write her off. And Rhea like did this like what's called a Pillmanizer. Like they Pillmanized, like, you know, what Stone Cold did to Brian Pillman, like attacking Brian Pillman's like shoulder and like crippling him. I guess I can't really describe it. But anyway, they wrote off Liv Morgan like by trapping her shoulder in the steel chair, and then now they're building up towards that. And that was supposed to be the original match for SummerSlam, by the way. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the women's world title, but then, you know, Liv got hurt. So now they switched gears towards Rhea versus Raquel again for what was supposed to be a future match, but now was gonna be this match. But I guess they were gonna hold it off. They're clearly holding it off. So they do the injury the bit again with Raquel. Rhea goes after the injured knee. So yeah, you didn't really have a lot of time to build up towards this match for SummerSlam. And if you did do it at SummerSlam, it's gonna be rushed. And you want to have a rushed match in front of like 50,000 people? Like, it wasn't really gonna fly that way. Like, no. And then again, I'm just speaking from a neutral playing field. It's like you were either people were gonna complain that this match was rushed. Same thing with Becky and Trish. You're either gonna complain that these women's matches were rushed, or you're gonna bitch and moan that they weren't on the card at all. It's like you gotta pick and choose your battles here. So I'm just pointing that out yet. So you gotta pick one or the other, like not both. And plus, you're already getting 2 women's matches on this card. Like, why want more? Ungrateful. And also considering the fact that there was a certain individual that people were gonna bitch and moan to if this person wasn't on the card either. But more on that in just a bit. So on another note with this Battle Royale, they played a video package just before the match showcasing the different Battle Royales in WWE history to try and hype the importance of this meat stick Battle Royale. So it was kind of weird how they did that, but I mean, hey, I guess you're getting paid $7 million, so okay. All right then. So some of the participants in this match are Apollo Crews, JD McDonough or McDonut. Like, wasn't he supposed to be in that, like, teasing his involvement in the Judgment Day? But whatever. Rick Boogs, the Brawling Brutes, so all 3 members. Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. Thank you. The Viking Raiders, Cameron Grimes, Imperium's Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, Shinsuke Nakamura, Tommaso Ciampa, Big Bronson Reed, Matt Riddle, Karrion Kross, Grayson Waller, The Miz, AJ Styles. They even had the United States champion Austin Theory. Like, what? It's like, if this was for the United States Championship, it would make sense. Or if there were stakes involved in this, like, oh, the winner gets to compete for the mid-card title that's on their brand. It's like, but why is the U.S. champion in this match when there's no stakes involved? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Santos Escobar, and then the man that people were going to bitch about if he wasn't on the card instead of, you know, the matches I just talked about. And that man was L.A. Knight. Yeah. So, yeah. L.A. Knight. And he is the proverbial favorite in this Battle Royale. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's supposed to be one more guy, one more surprise entrant in this meat stick Battle Royale. And it ended up just being Omos. The big surprise just ended up being Omos, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't have a lot to say about this Battle Royale, other than, you know, the side notes I just went on a lengthy rant about. Because eliminations, you know, came at a very fast rate, just like it usually does with the Battle Royale. A lot of them were by Chad Gable and Chad Gable and Omos. The field narrowed very quickly, and then almost eventually would get gangbanged and eliminated by whoever was left in the ring. And the final three came down to AJ Styles, Sheamus, and LA Knight. Yeah. But Styles would get eliminated by Sheamus thanks to a distraction from Karrion Kross. And the final two came down to Sheamus and LA Knight. LA Knight would hit this top rope belly-to-belly suplex that they botched on the SmackDown prior to the show, to SummerSlam, but it ended up working in this match. And that would be the deciding factor in eliminating Sheamus over the top rope, as Knight would win the Slim Jim Battle Royale. Yeah. So, you know, again, a lot of moving parts to this meat stick Battle Royale, as usual with like these over the top rope matches. But hey, LA Knight is finally getting that big push, hopefully. He got a big win, even though it's in a match that doesn't have anything involved in it. But it's on a kind of big stage, you know, in front of like 50,000 fans in a stadium, you know, and a stadium that, you know, doesn't have a lot of like good history because it's the Lions. But no, still, no, something nonetheless. And, you know, hopefully it leads to WWE finally starting to give LA Knight that big push that they've been holding back on him. And yeah, there's still some things that he can work on in terms of his in-ring moveset. And yeah, he's a bit on the older side, but man, he's got that charisma. He's got the personality that's gotten him to this point. So hopefully WWE commits to that push. So I'm excited to what they have in store for LA Knight, and they better not fuck it up. So the fourth match that we got in this card was one of the first women matches that we had, and that was Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler in an MMA rules match. This is the matches that I was kind of expecting that show up on the card because of what transpired a month prior at Money in the Bank with Shayna Baszler's betrayal of Ronda Rousey in that women's tag team matchup with Liv and Raquel. But the problem is that everything felt so rushed, and there wasn't really a lot of heat to this match other than Shayna explaining the reasoning for her betrayal. Like, Ronda got handed everything while Shayna had to work her way up in WWE, like in WWE and all that. And then, although they did do this nice video package highlighting their history in MMA, and then trying to work their way through training for wrestling and all that. But you know, it's kind of too little, too late. But hey, it kind of gave the match a little bit of a spark needed. But the problem was the stipulation I mentioned, MMA rules. So it's basically an MMA match, like, but in pro wrestling. So it really threw a lot of people off, and it ended up doing the fans in Detroit no favors. And I'll get into why when I give my full thoughts right now. So for this match, you know, they both used their MMA background to make it look as realistic as possible. You know, they were hitting each other hard. They were locking all these submissions on one another. The problem is the crowd was just not really into it. It's like they hated Ronda Rousey so much that they just could not give a shit. And then Shayna Baszler was just like damaged beyond repair in terms of like her persona, like her presentation. It's like they couldn't give a shit either. But like towards the end, you know, the crowd kind of got into it when Shayna and Ronda traded their signature submissions on each other, tried to see who can make the other tap. But Shayna would eventually pass out Ronda Rousey with the Kirifuda clutch to win the match by technical submission. So yeah, this match was like probably the worst match of the night. But I mean, I get the point of this match, like, you know, trying to tap into their MMA background. But man, if they really wanted to do an MMA style match, should have just had the fight pit for Ronda and Shayna, because it would have better suited both their styles and, you know, their on-screen personal beef. Especially considering, you know, like Shayna trying to eliminate Ronda from wrestling. The problem was with MMA rules was a couple major flaws. The first flaw was, since this match was contested under MMA rules, a lot of people that don't watch MMA or don't watch UFC, don't watch any sports other than WWE or AEW or like just professional wrestling strictly, they don't know what to expect. They came to watch WWE for WWE, not for any other sport, sadly. So the first flaw of this match was not having the referee's like mic opened up to explain the rules loud and proud for the live audience. You know, the UFC does that. They have their mics open up, and so they can explain the rules. Like, I want a clean fight. Like, when I separate you, and all that. You know, they have to explain. They have to explain these rules in front of a crowd that doesn't really know, like MMA or UFC and all that. So they have to know what's going on, and the WWE did not do that. The second fatal flaw was that, again, nobody knew who the face or heel was. They didn't know who to cheer for, and like I said, everyone hated Ronda Rousey by that point. And Shayna Baszler lost a lot of credibility, and it's just was damaged goods that even by winning, he might not come credible out of this. So it sucks all around for both of them. I feel like it could have been done so much better. I'm not sure why it ended up so crappy. Again, could have been done in the fight bit. The fight bit could have maybe helped them a little. But either way, kind of a shame that this is the way that Ronda Rousey goes out of WWE and maybe wrestling as a whole. Yeah, Ronda Rousey is officially gone from WWE. So since this is Ronda's permanent final hurrah, so yeah. I mean, even this wasn't her best second run. You know, she gave a lot of people opportunities to like shine and succeed. You know, most of it had Ronda coming out on top. You know, she gave a lot of those women's wrestlers a platform, a trait that, you know, certain fans won't give her credit for. So at least that's something. And then she at least tried to put Shayna Baszler over on her way out. So at least give her some credit there. So yeah, Shayna Baszler wins against Ronda Rousey in this MMA rules match, but it really took the wind out of people's sails in SummerSlam. So next up, we had the Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Drew McIntyre. So this is kind of a pseudo rematch from WrestleMania that just doesn't have Sheamus in it. So yeah, Drew McIntyre came back a month ago at Money in the Bank and went on to challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental title. And for this match, it was hard hitting early and often, just like it was in that triple threat. One of those hard hitting spots included a back suplex by Gunther onto Drew on the ring steps. And yeah, it was just a pretty physical match here. I wouldn't say as physical as the WrestleMania, but they were still hard hitting though. Drew would fight back. You know, he managed to hit Gunther with his own power bomb into a future shock DDT for a near fall. Gunther countered a Claymore attempt into a T-Rex drop kick, and then he hit his power bomb for a near fall, another near fall, and then they would have a slap contest to see who would make whose chest redder or more red. But you know, Drew hit a Claymore out of nowhere, but he couldn't seal the Intercontinental Championship because Gunther kicked out. So the finish of the match saw Drew trying to go for a top rope move, but Gunther escaped it. He pushed Drew off, and then Drew landed on his nuts on the top rope. And then Gunther hit the sequence of moves to set up his powerbomb and retain his Intercontinental Championship. So, you know, this was a good match. Like I liked it. It was one of my highlights of the night. I just prefer, you know, that triple threat match that I saw live in person at Mania. But this match was still good though. Like Gunther, like really proving to be one of the WWE's top MVPs of the year with this title reign. And you know, some people say, oh, he just slaps people in the chest. No, not really. He tries to expand his moveset, and vary things up in his matches other than just chopping his opponents to oblivion, hitting the power bomb on them. And you know, this match against Drew was no different. So yeah, Gunther, it was proving to be like one of WWE's top guys, and it could be so after he eventually drops that thing. So yeah, he's eventually gonna break Honky Tonk Man's record in about a month. But hey, at least it gets broken by someone that's worthy of that distinction, and that distinction should go to Gunther. Meanwhile, for Drew McIntyre, you know, I'm not really sure what you can do with him going forward. He doesn't really have a lot of direction after just coming back because he doesn't really have a case to get a rematch with Gunther because he lost fair and square. But the problem is, it's like if you try to turn him heel and have him feud with, like, I don't know, one of Raw's other, like, top baby faces, if there's any, it's not necessarily the most viable option because, well, not only because of all the injuries that are happening, but your only top babyface right now is Seth Rollins. And turning Drew McIntyre would leave a significantly large void. If something does happen to Seth Rollins, be it he takes some time off after dropping the World Heavyweight Championship, if he ever does, or Seth Rollins suffers a knock on wood situation, like an injury. He catches the injury bug, and I have my critical thoughts on Seth. I don't want that to happen. So, yeah, WWE shouldn't turn Drew heel now because, you know, again, they don't have any viable baby faces on Raw right now, and let alone SmackDown too. It's like they are very low on baby faces. So, you know, WWE, you know, I hope they have something in store for Drew whenever he shows up again, because yeah, he just came back a month ago. It's like he should be treated as one of their top guys. I just don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know why they don't see it. So I don't know. But anyway, your ring general is still your Intercontinental Champion. So next up, we had the World Heavyweight Championship matchup between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor in a rematch from last month's Money in the Bank, and ironically, a rematch from 7 years ago at SummerSlam. So why do I say 7 years ago? Well, Finn Balor kept mentioning it all month long in why he wanted this rematch against Seth, because he wanted to avenge that win that turned into a loss because of the legit injury that Seth Rollins gave him in that very first Universal Championship match to crown that champion at SummerSlam in Brooklyn in 2016. So Finn Balor wanted this match so badly because he wanted to prove he could avenge that injury and win the World Heavyweight Championship. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot anything different in this match because, well, it's Seth and Finn. You're gonna expect a lot of the good technical wrestling, pal, in this match. So for both men's entrances, I mean, it was okay. I mean, there were a little bit of callbacks of sorts. You know, Finn Balor painted the word 7 on the shoulder that Seth caused the injury on. And then Rollins came out in the same ring vest that he wore on the night that they had their Universal Championship match in. So, I mean, good callback. But the problem was, for all that, he, again, with the outfits, the very stupid outfits, like this latest instance of Seth had a giant ass robe, a very long robe with balloon inflatable shoulder pads. It's like, this is your World Heavyweight Champion, ladies and gentlemen, and I like, fuck all the fashion trends, especially with the dudes. It's like, this does not look cool, ladies and gentlemen. This does not look cool. Like, knock me all you want. These popular fashion trends are stupid as hell. Knock me all you want on that. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion, by the way. But knock me all you want on that. Anyway, during the ring introductions, Rollins threw the ring vest at Balor, and then rightfully so. For as much as I dislike Balor, I actually wanted to win here. So he rightfully attacked Seth from behind. The two started to brawl before the match officially got started. And then, yeah, like I said, it is pretty much the same song and dance from Money in the Bank. And then at SummerSlam several years ago, the only difference was Finn targeting Rollins' arm very frequently, and then doing the powerbomb spot on Rollins that Rollins did to him 7 years prior. And then more than halfway through the match, Finn Balor looked poised to close in on the title with the coup de grace, but he missed. And Rollins hit a pedigree for a 2 count. And then after that near fall, out came Damian Priest, and that finally got the crowd awake, especially as they are still trying to recover from that MMA rules match. But nonetheless, you know, Mr. Money in the Bank, Damian Priest comes out. The referee gets distracted by Finn. Priest punches Seth Rollins, and Balor hits a pedigree for another near fall. So Damian Priest goes back to the wishing well. He tries his next plan. Rhea Ripley and Dirty Dan. What about Pinhead? Pinhead is in the ring. His name is Finn Balor. So Dirty Dan, Dominic Mysterio, distracts the referee. Damian offered Finn the Money in the Bank contract to use as a weapon, but for whatever reason, Finn didn't want to use it and win that way because he wanted to stick to the original plan, whatever that was. So this latest argument between Damian and Finn will allow Seth to hit the curb stomp on Balor, but Balor would kick out with every inch of life he had left. And then Seth decided to take matters into his own hands. He would dive onto Damian Priest, curb stomp Dirty Dan on the floor to show he's the real Dirty Dan, not Dominic. And that distraction, though, allowed Finn to shotgun dropkick Seth Rollins into the corner again. And then he would hit the tantrum drop, you know, the coup de grace, onto Seth. But Seth Rollins kicked out. And the crowd was finally, again, waking up. They were back alive. So Damian Priest back on his feet, frustrated by the failings of his teammate that couldn't get the job done. Damian Priest gave Finn Balor one last chance to try and win the match and the World Heavyweight title. He tossed the briefcase inside. He distracted the referee himself. But Balor was just like, dude, I guess I don't want this, but okay, I'll take it. But Balor took too long. And he took too long to grab it, and then he got his head stomped in by Rollins on the briefcase. And Seth Rollins fights for another day as the World Heavyweight Champion. So, a lot to take away from this match. I mean, everything beforehand, before Damian Priest got involved, I mean, it was whatever. Again, the same song and dance that we saw with Seth and Balor before. But for the last 1/4 of this match, you know, it was not bad. It was not bad. Damian Priest continuing to like assert perhaps either his or Finn Balor's potential exit from Judgment Day. But I don't know. Is it me, or did I think that WWE should have had Finn Balor win this match in the world title? Because I thought this should have been the perfect opportunity for Finn Balor to win the world title. And then, out of nowhere, Damian Priest backstabs him and then cashes in the Money in the Bank contract. Yeah, Rhea Ripley and Dirty Dan are there. But still, Damian Priest backstabs Finn Balor and then cashes in and wins the World Heavyweight Championship from him. Maybe Finn Balor gets kicked out of the Judgment Day right then and there, or maybe I don't know, like Rhea's like, oh shit, what did you do, man? All right, and they're all stunned, like they're too stunned to go and stop the cash in. I don't know. I mean, it would have ultimately served its purpose though, because later on it might not be as effective. So yeah, overall, I mean, again, this match was just very slow, but you know, it picked up when Damian Priest and the rest of them arrived. But yeah, they literally gave every opportunity, like in the writing sense, for Balor to try and win the title. But for whatever reason, Balor showed that he had no balls to win in such fashion. And, you know, as such, you know, we're going to get answers on potentially Monday's Raw when we talk about it, that the Judgment Day, either Damian or Finn could potentially get kicked out of the group sooner rather than later. So who knows? We could have an answer on Monday's Raw when we talk about it. Who or if either one of them gets the boot. But either way, Seth Rollins is still your World Heavyweight Champion. So then we get our second to last matchup of the night, and that was the Women's Championship match between the champion Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair. These three women have been fighting against each other. In terms of, well, Asuka and Bianca, they fought each other at Night of Champions. Asuka ended the very longest women's championship reign in modern history at Night of Champions, albeit controversially. But nonetheless, she ended the reign of terror, as I like to say. That's controversial in and of itself, but I digress. And then the next week after, she was awarded the reverted named Women's Championship. So that brought out Charlotte Flair, and in typical WWE fashion, they award her with the championship match a couple weeks later in London. And then Bianca Belair, who thought she deserved a rematch, she attacked both Asuka and Charlotte, and then you knew this was going to lead towards a triple threat to this event, SummerSlam. So they built that up, and then here we are. So yeah, we get the triple threat match. And I gotta say, first of all, how much did they pay Bianca Belair to drink that C4 energy drink? Like, I wonder how much she got the dough. I mean, I'm not knocking her, but hey, at least she got that money. So, because she definitely had that drink. She definitely had that drink. She definitely had that energy to go down that ramp after drinking that. But nonetheless, second of all, you knew it was going to be bad news for Asuka when she doesn't get to make her entrance last as champion. She actually entered second, so you knew something was going to go down for Asuka, and not in a good way when it comes to defending her title. So for the match itself, it was not good. There was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of errors, a lot of botches from Charlotte Flair. But the takeaway from this match was, Bianca selling, or at least trying to sell a major knee injury, because Michael Cole kept pointing out that Bianca was holding her right knee frequently, and then after countering a double figure 8 attempt by Charlotte, trying to lock in the figure 8 on both Asuka and Bianca. Bianca rushed to Charlotte in the corner, but Charlotte yeeted her out of the ring, and then Bianca landed hard on the outside, and then she was crying like her foot literally got ran over the car, like in that one episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, where I don't know which one it was, but someone's foot got ran over by the car. But I don't know, I forgot which one it was. Or was it a different show? I don't know. But anyway, Bianca was selling that foot like she got hit by a car. But obviously it's just playing parameters here. But the problem was she sold the wrong leg. She did that like often in this match. It's like they're showing her selling her right leg initially, but then when she fell, she sold the left leg. Like, what? So which leg is hurt? Like, is it the right or is it the left? Like, I'm not meaning the S word, but it's just like it's simple acting. Sell the right leg. So anyway, back to the match. Medical personnel escort Bianca out of the ring. And Charlotte and Asuka continue to go at it. Charlotte's about to win this match with the figure 8 bridged on Asuka, but Bianca limps her way back into the ring and goes up into the corner with all her willpower that's left. Hits a 450 splash out of nowhere, out of the blue on Charlotte, and she gets a near fall, and now she's selling the right leg, my leg. Charlotte does though get the figure 8 bridged onto Bianca though, but just when the EST is about to snap, get her leg snapped and tap out, Asuka comes back in, sprays the green mist on Charlotte, and she tries to kick Bianca's face in, but she misses, and Bianca fruit rolls up Asuka to win back the women's championship. So yeah, I mean, outside of the last act of this match, this was not good. There's a lot of like errors, botches from Charlotte, and it was pretty slow, to be honest with you. But I will say the final act at least was a decent showing from all three. A lot of desperation, a lot of desperation plays. Bianca, doing an okay job at selling the knee, but again, selling the wrong leg often. But credit's due on the last act. I just do feel some for Asuka though, because she's always had these title reigns and WWE never follows through with them. I guess with the exception of the tag team titles, I guess. But with all that being said, though, the night wasn't over for Bianca Belair, because 20 seconds later, right after Bianca's match ended, bow, 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 some familiar music blasted through the arena in Ford Field, and out came Io Sky and Bayley, acting like they were Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, ready to run through the NFC North this season, and they were gonna cash in Io's Money in the Bank contract right then and there. They took out Charlotte, they took out Asuka, and then Io would take out Bianca and hand over the briefcase to Jessica Carr, the referee, as Mike Rome announced loud and clear to the people in Ford Field that Io Sky is cashing in her Money in the Bank contract. And then one moonsault later, Io Sky is your new women's champion. So, yeah. Bianca now holds the longest and the shortest women's championship reigns in all of WWE history. So, Io celebrates with Bayley, and then out comes Dakota Kai, who actually revealed that she came at the very last moment to Ford Field on her Twitch stream. I literally just randomly saw that on Twitter, but cool, I guess. A little cool moment there. Even though they're still Splatoon girls in my eyes. That's Bayley Splatoon girls. But hey, congratulations to Io Sky on becoming the women's champion. But we'll see how that follows up with them. So my opinions on this cash in, a little unclear on how it was going to be done. I thought here SummerSlam was going to be the exact moment. Splatoon Girls 2, aka Io Sky, was going to cash in on her contract. Honestly, I thought initially, when she did do the cash in, like the moment she won it at Money in the Bank, I thought Bayley was going to cost her the eventual cash in, because, they've been teasing the breakup of Damage Control even without Dakota Kai. But for whatever reason, they totally ditched the dissension angle in favor of, a feud between Bayley and Shotzi. Still a nice moment though. A little bit similar from last year with Ronda Rousey, injured Ronda getting cashed in on by Liv Morgan. But now WWE has to answer that question though, as they had to with Liv. How do they follow it up? Because keep in mind that, unlike with Liv, Io is apparently one of Triple H's favorites, but yet not as much of a crowd favorite in terms of like popularity, like casual appeal per se. So if the fans are not as invested as in Io, then you know how this could turn out with the new women's champion. So the advantage, at least with Io, she can speak a little bit of English, and she at least has a mouthpiece in Bayley. I mean, although not really as good as a promo with Bayley, but still, it can work if they're not going to do the dissension thing. But in all honesty, I think it should sooner rather than later. But we'll see where it goes, because honestly, where I see it, this is likely going to lead to Dolph Flair or Charlotte Ziggler getting closer to that 16-time world championship. Ladies and gentlemen. But either way, for now, Io Sky is your new women's champion for now. So now we have our main event. We have our main event of the night at SummerSlam back on Saturday. And now I get to finally talk about it. Obviously, I've been high. I've been excited to watch this match unfold. And it's basically the bread and butter of why I talk about this. I've been excited. I'm excited to see these matches, like whenever there's a pay-per-view on, like for the last year or so. And that's of course the Bloodline. And this is the latest iteration of that. The undisputed WWE champion Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, and what is being billed as tribal combat. Basically, tribal combat is basically fancy wording for no holds barred. Anything goes and all that jazz. This was for the undisputed WWE title that Roman possesses, but it's also for the position of the tribal chief in their Samoan dynasty family, the Anoa'i family. So, yeah, you know, that lay that Roman has every time he comes out for his matches, that's what's at stake. And Roman said right before the match started that he would personally give it to Jey if he were to win. So this was their first one-on-one match since, ironically, where it all began, when Jey had to become that right-hand man. Hell in a Cell 2020. And now it all comes full circle for both of these guys in the second biggest stage, you know, WrestleMania being the biggest. But SummerSlam, second biggest, and now you're doing it in front of a live audience. So I had a lot of expectations. I had a lot of high hopes. You know, even if it's not the stipulation I personally wanted, I was hoping WWE could deliver in the main event of SummerSlam 2023. And, you know, they got me excited early on with Jey Uso's entrance. You know, down since day one-ish. You know, he got everyone excited in Ford Field, trying to wake them up. And he even tried to make Ford Field like a concert of sorts, you know, waving his hands in the air like the crowd cared. He got them to do the wave to his entrance as they sing along to his theme song. So that was a pretty cool moment. Meanwhile, when Roman Reigns wanted the crowd to acknowledge him, notice how Roman said SummerSlam to acknowledge him rather than Detroit. You knew that when he said Detroit, not Detroit, SummerSlam, acknowledge me. Yeah, you knew that's like, oh, he's giving that big fat F you to the Detroit Lions, the big fat F you to the Detroit Pistons, the Red Wings. Yeah, especially to the Lions. It's like, yeah, he's no believer in the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff and the damn city of Detroit. Yeah, he wants SummerSlam, not Detroit, to acknowledge him. Yeah, that's our tribal chief, ladies and gentlemen. So, for this match itself, is basically early on your standard, like, normal match with Roman. A lot of slow offense. You know, Jey trying to take control. You know, he introduced a couple weapons here and there, try to introduce some extreme elements, but Roman would slow the pace down and bring things back to a more traditional wrestling matchup. And, you know, nothing wrong with that. I mean, but the problem was, it was a good chunk of that for like 10 minutes or so. And yeah, it's like a no disqualification match. And it's like, yeah, introduce some stuff, please. So Jey would actually introduce some stuff by countering a Superman punch from Roman later on, and then using a kendo stick that Roman brought to the ring. But once things got back into the ring after Jey chased Roman around with the kendo stick, Roman would hit a mid-air Superman punch when Jey tried to dive onto him for a near fall. Reigns tried for a spear. Jey countered to a super kick, and then actually hit the first Uso splash for a near fall. And then much later on, they were fighting over tables, see who would go through it, and then Jey outwilled Roman. It took him a little bit of willpower, but he got him through the nearby setup tables on the outside with a Samoan drop. And then the action started to spill outside through the crowd of Ford Field, starting with Jey using a leather strap, just like how Roman did back in Hell in a Cell 2020. And man, you can really hear just how loud that whip was in Ford Field. I mean, I wasn't there personally, obviously, but when you hear it on TV, it's like, wow. Roman started going into the crowd, and Jey is in pursuit. And then Jey was about to set up the next spot, whatever that may be. Out of nowhere is Solo Sikoa. And wait a minute. You think that you know, Tribal Combat, they literally said a couple weeks ago that no one can interfere, especially no one in the family, but yeah, here's Solo Sikoa. Like why are they disregarding their own rules? Like, again, logic gap. WWE, why aren't you going to explain this one? But nonetheless, after nearly 30 minutes of mostly, honestly, at that point, before they started introducing the weapons like the leather strap, Jey and Roman going to the table, is honestly a lot of nothing. And I was kind of underwhelmed by that. So it was a lot of mostly nothing. And then once Solo Sikoa came into the picture, even though we shouldn't have, the tribal shenanigans were finally going to kick in. Like, yeah, what I mean by tribal shenanigans, you know, interference, ref bump. But surprisingly, there was no ref bump in this match. But yeah, you knew outside interference was going to kick in. And that's where the tribal shenanigans began. So Jey got spinning Solo from Solo Sikoa through a table, and Solo dragged his lifeless body back to the ring, where he received another spinning Solo from Sikoa. And then just when Roman and Solo were going to hit that spear and spike combo, Jey moved out of the way at the last moment. Roman hits Solo with the spear, and Jey hits his own spear on Roman for another near fall. And then the crowd finally, after 35 minutes, got into it. They finally got into this match. And I think that's a problem with this. It's like when things go on too long, it's like they're just literally sitting on their hands. And that's what I felt like during this match. It's like, I'm just waiting for the next part to come along. And I'll get into my thoughts on my opinions on the match length in just a bit. So later on, Solo reappeared. He refused to help Roman up, and then they got into another argument in what happened to be the latest tease of Solo's eventual turn on Roman Reigns down the line. And Corey Graves mentioned this, that, you know, Solo doesn't follow Roman's orders without any respect. He felt like he got disrespected by getting speared by him. You know, good point by that. And that's why they argued. So Jey spears Roman through the barricade. Solo tries to put Jey through the announce table, but Jey countered it. He decides to give him the Uso splash, just like Solo did to his brother Jimmy in Madison Square Garden. And then Jey, through all the adrenaline rush feeling in him, he brings Roman back into the ring, and you finally sense it. He's going to do it. You have a chance to believe he's going to do it. Jey hits a spear. Jey hits the Uso splash. And then people in Detroit, people at home, they were going to believe. I believed he was going to do it. The referee was going to count 1, 2, and then someone dragged his ass out of the ring. Like, why? A hooded man dragged Jey Uso out of the ring, and then he pulled off the hood, and then it was Jimmy Uso? Wait, hold on a second. Jimmy Uso? Wait, hold on. Why is this spinning wheels all of a sudden? So after all they've done in their life, you know, they're brothers, and all they've done in the Bloodline story, like, you know, like fighting Roman at first, and then coming together with Roman, and what they accomplished as tag team champions in the Bloodline, main eventing WrestleMania, and then getting out of the Bloodline finally, and then beating Roman and Solo in that tag team match, Jimmy stops his brother from becoming WWE champion. Like, what? Wait, hold on, what? Like, why? So the end of the match sees Jey looking just as confused as we all are. Jimmy gives his brother a super kick, throws him back into the ring for an unconcerned Roman to give him the death blow. A spear through the table, and Roman Reigns is still your undisputed champion. I mean, again, no problems with Roman Reigns. You know, he's still my tribal chief. I respect him for that. You know, I'm still not worthy of my tribal chief. But, man, this was Jey's night, damn it. If there's one opportunity to have Roman get dethroned, I know there was Drew, then there was Sammy, and of course, you know, there was Cody. But damn it, I felt this was the biggest opportunity for WWE to pull the trigger, and then they didn't. They didn't. I don't know what you did. What are you thinking? I really didn't know what you're thinking. But let's talk about this match, because I have a lot to say about this main event match. The match itself, I gotta say, for all I said in regards to recapping this match, I was a little disappointed by it. actually pretty disappointed by it, because it dragged out much longer than it needed to. It felt like a lot of repeating stuff from their tag team match a month ago, you know, except with the no disqualification element added to it. Because, you know, you had Roman and Jey, you know, fighting traditionally. And then you had Roman trash talking per usual. And then whenever, like I said, whenever Jey tried to introduce something extreme, Roman's like, no, you're going to wrestle my way. So it felt like the match never really got out of first gear until really late. And that really hurt the vibe of this main event match for me. Like, that's what made it disappointing for me. It's like, this was supposed to be tribal combat. This is supposed to be like a hardcore kind of match, like a personal battle. And yet for most of it, it never did. It never did for me. And for all the hype, for all that with Jey and Roman, like all the segments that they had, it's like leading up to this, it's like it didn't really pay off here. It really didn't pay off here. And, you know, normally I'm into the story that WWE's trying to tell with the bloodline, but man, Tribal Combat did end up just being like a normal no disqualification match. Like I feared, for the title and the label of Tribal Chief, just with the special billing, just like with Bloodline Civil War, sadly. And then coupled with the interference that, you know, there wasn't supposed to be an interference, even said on WWE.com in the match preview that there's not supposed to be any interference. This was a rare misstep, probably one of the first missteps that WWE has had with this bloodline angle. So yeah, not good. Like, this was like not a good match right here. And then, you know, how I said my piece about Jey wanting to challenge for the title at SummerSlam when I talked about that on Twitter. Because, you know, W should run it back inside Hell in a Cell, because that's where it truly all began. And I feel like they should have. Like, it really would have taken advantage of their emotions, the story that they're trying to tell. And then, you know, people that only got to see it in the Thunderdome back in 2020, they got to see it in person play out. And yeah, sure, it would have had a little bit of repeat spots in it, but you could have introduced a couple more new elements to it at play. So, I don't know, man. I thought this was a great opportunity to try to run it back for as personal as it was, bring it back inside Hell in a Cell. Yes, yeah, it's just like this no DQ match pretty much never got out of first gear. And then lastly, I also advocated highly for Jey to dethrone Roman Reigns, because yeah, Jey's not a man of a guy. He's not world champion material for a lot of people, but he is absolutely the perfect candidate to end this portion of the bloodline story. He's, even if it's a short reign, because it started with Roman and Jey, you know, with Roman handpicking Jey to be his first challenger, and then abusing him for the last the first couple of months in his reign, and then forcing him to become the right hand man, and then further abusing him. And then yeah, it should have ended with Jey overcoming Roman Reigns, becoming the undisputed champion. And yeah, even if it was a short reign, like let's say Fastlane, like it would have been something. It definitely would have been something. Like, sure, some people say, like, really? We're going to have Roman's historic 1,000 day reign, ended by a tag team guy? It's like, the context matters though, because it ended by the family member that got abused the most by Roman. So what you're doing now though is that you're proving Roman right. It's like, Jey can't beat Roman when it matters most. So he basically got swept in a playoff series. So that's not good. Like, I don't know, like WWE, it's like you had your best option for Roman to get dethroned by Jey. Even if it was a short reign, Roman could have gotten the title back. I don't know. I really don't know what they were thinking with this. Maybe it's like something they want to do down the line, because I know what they're going to do. But man, what a missed opportunity this was. and a litany of missed opportunities for WWE. Of course, Drew McIntyre, Clash of the Castle, Sami. Well, I don't know about Sami Zayn about the Elimination Chamber, and then now Jey Uso at SummerSlam. And then now we get to the big moment that led to this ending: Jimmy Uso's heel turn. A lot of people had a lot of mixed feelings about it. People were angry. People defended it. Where do I stand on it? I mean, why did it happen? How does this make sense? My initial thoughts when I saw this, when I watched this, is that they can't be this stupid. That's what my initial reaction was. They can't be this stupid to have Jimmy Uso turn heel on Jey after all they went through. Jimmy pulling the trigger to finally get out of the bloodline and finally convince Jey to get out of there as well, because it would be going backwards on the story of the bloodline, especially if considering that Jimmy rejoins Roman, so he falls back in line in the bloodline. That'd be dumb. That'd be really, really dumb. But, I'm willing to give WWE a little benefit of the doubt until they script in the explanation by Jimmy Uso. But it really has to be a good one. It really has to be a good reason, because I really have reservations on how well WWE can execute this turn and give a proper reason for it. As for why WWE decided to have Jimmy Uso turn like right now, because I feel like it was kind of soon to do it. I mean, there's plenty of reasons. I feel like there's plenty of reasons. Maybe it's the jealousy angle, which is pretty dumb in my opinion, because it kind of alludes to what I said just a little bit earlier. It's like, what's there for Jimmy to be jealous about? I mean, he's the one that got out of the bloodline. I mean, yeah, he should have got the title shot, but it's like, what's there to be jealous about? What's there to be jealous about? He and Jey got out of the bloodline, but when it mattered most, he couldn't protect himself against Roman and Solo. And especially when he had that back in like 2020, he tried to protect himself, but he couldn't. And when he tried to get the main event shots, he couldn't. So, yeah, what's there to be jealous about, Jimmy? So they are planning to do the jealousy bit. I mean, they could have easily done that by having Jey dethrone Roman with help from a returning Jimmy, and then have Jimmy turn on Jey on the next SmackDown during their Jey's championship celebration, if that was to happen. So another potential reason is that maybe Jimmy doesn't want Jey to be the new tribal chief, because he wouldn't follow orders like Roman and Paul Heyman were alluding to, but also for Jimmy's sake, he would be concerned like maybe it would corrupt him. Jey would be corrupted by the labeling of the tribal chief, just like it did to Roman. So there's also that angle, and he's just like trying to protect his little brother, and like Jey is probably like deceived or disillusioned by that thought. And then maybe the third reason, and probably unlikely reason, is that maybe Jimmy had a change of heart. Maybe he wants to be the tribal chief himself, and that sets up this bloodline like divide even further. Jimmy, Jey, Roman, Solo all want to be the tribal chief. They all want to go after Roman's status, and that sets up a future fatal four-way for not just the Undisputed title, but once again for the right to be the tribal chief, the head of the table in the family. So yeah, either way, it's like WWE has a lot of explaining to do on SmackDown this Friday with this new brotherly feud, and it better be a really good explanation, because if they don't do this, they don't execute this very well on the first go, then it's gonna turn a lot of people off, and it could like derail this bloodline story, like not like significantly, but slowly but surely, because there are like reports that WWE wants to hold off Jimmy versus Jey till WrestleMania. It's like, how are you gonna do that? Like, how are you gonna do that with so much time away? You have like literally 8 months to try and hold that off. You successfully did that with Rey versus Dominic, but the only reason you could is that, well, you put Rey on SmackDown, you put Dominic on Raw. So it's like, how are you going to be able to do that with Jey versus Jimmy? I mean, you could technically do the same thing, but it's like, you just established this. I don't know. Maybe Jey doesn't want to fight Jimmy, or I don't know. You have to figure something out here. WWE has to really do something, because I feel like, I don't know, at least initially, they kind of hot-shotted this. They kind of hot-shotted this part just to keep the title on Roman. Speaking of Roman, to wrap up this match, my opinions on this match, let's talk about Roman Reigns, because obviously it looks like for now he's done with Jimmy and Jey. He's off doing whatever he's gonna do going forward on TV, whatever WWE has planned for him. But here's the thing, you know, I like Roman Reigns, his whole run. I know people criticize him for not being on TV as much, but you know, that's what makes it special about Roman Reigns and this whole Raw bloodline story. But we're reaching a point now. It's that Roman doesn't have anyone left to defend the title against, and you know, his matches at this point, it's like it's kind of the same formula. Hopefully now that he's essentially done for now with his family members, he can now vary up his match style with with the likes of when he had clean matches against Matt Riddle, Daniel Bryan, and all that. So yeah, right now he doesn't have a lot of like litany of legitimate challengers on SmackDown. So let's face it, Sheamus, he's stuck in the mid card. He's probably gonna feud with somebody. AJ Styles, like they literally had no direction for him since he came back. Bobby Lashley, I don't know, is he a heel since he and the Street Profits attacked all those face tag teams? So yeah, I think he's a heel, so it wouldn't really work against Roman. So either way, what's Roman gonna do once he's done with vacation, his latest vacation? So it's like there's really nothing for him to do right now. So with all that being said, we know where Roman's next direction is in at least like next year and within the next several months. And I know for all the people that hate it, for all the people that don't like this idea, sorry. As much as I dislike this idea too, we are gonna get this notion. We're gonna get this thought. We are gonna get this idea that's gonna come in reality in January of 2024, or maybe in February 2024, depending on how things go. And it's still early, but we're gonna get it. And that is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 2 at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia next April. And yeah, we all know what's going to happen there. Maybe not, depending on if Roman Reigns wants to drop the title. He pulls a Hulk Hogan, and he's like, that's not going to work for me, brother. But we all know what's going to happen in Philadelphia next April. Like, WWE literally is pulling all the stops with the Cody train. But yeah, like, I hate to say it for all the people that don't want it, but I'm just being realistic with y'all. For the people that wanted Drew, the people that wanted Sammy, the people wanted Jey, and maybe like in the near future that even want Solo, when he eventually turns on Roman, it ain't happening. Like, let's face it with Solo Sikoa. If they really want Solo Sikoa to dethrone Roman, like, you really have to start giving him the Batista treatment. It's like, you have to make him start talking more. You have to make him start like acting like a badass more. And like, even though he is kind of a badass, but like more than just the usual Samoan, like Umaga like badass. But let's face it, where it stands now, he's just going to be Roman's Royal Rumble opponent in January. Like, I hate to say it. It's just reality. 8 months, like, it's just, like, even though it's 8 months away, this is just reality, ladies and gentlemen. Especially when you consider this. With Cody Rhodes, you know, he just got endorsed by Brock Lesnar. One of the biggest names in not just WWE, but in wrestling. And like I said, Roman Reigns has nobody left to face until they eventually turn Solo Sikoa, and perhaps when they do a Bloodline Fatal 4-Way. Like, and none of those are happening at WrestleMania. I hate to say it. So WWE is going to do the inevitable at WrestleMania 40, but again, the question becomes, what did the two do to pass the time? Like, we don't know what Cody's going to do on Raw, and well, like I said, what does Roman Reigns do once he gets back from his Cancun vacation? And then after, like, he has that appearance on SmackDown. So, yeah, WWE wouldn't have had this problem if, you know, at least for like a month or two, if Jey Uso was the WWE champion. But yeah, here we are. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, either way, for as much as I like Roman and the overall Bloodline story, I think they missed out on a really good opportunity. Probably a wonderful opportunity for Jey Uso to be the capper, to be Roman Reigns' dethroner of his title run on Saturday night at SummerSlam. Because, like I said, it started in the family with Roman and Jey. It should have ended in the family, having Jey come out on top. Now it's like you pretty much exhausted all your options until, well, in Philadelphia, where the inevitable is going to happen. It's going to be Cody Rhodes. Like, there's literally no one left to do it. Now, it's not going to be Solo Sikoa. I hate to say it. I'm sorry. It's not. It's time. At least not right now. Not in the near future. It's Cody Rhodes with the way they're setting it up. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the main event. I was kind of underwhelmed by it. And Roman Reigns is still your undisputed champion. I mean, I still respect my tribal chief. And it was just a little bit disappointing to see Jey Uso and WWE like not pull the trigger on him. So overall, you know, SummerSlam, I mean, I was really underwhelmed by this show. Even though I had a lot of low expectations going in, but you know, still kind of came out underwhelmed by it. Aside from Logan Paul and Ricochet and Gunther versus Drew McIntyre and LA Knight, yeah, winning the Battle Royale, I thought this was a pretty middling show for WWE's second biggest show of the year that they honestly don't treat as such anymore. Like, they used to treat their second biggest show of the year as something like their second WrestleMania, their summer WrestleMania, and then they don't. It's just like any other show now. So, yeah, for the first time since, I guess, Money in the Bank last month, or I guess since WrestleMania back in April. I mean, I guess that's because I went to it, obviously. I don't feel any excitement coming out of it. So, yeah, that's not good. Considering, you know, a certain thing is coming back next month in September. You know, the three initials. NFL. Yeah. But WWE has one more chance to get me excited for its stories with Payback, especially with Jimmy versus Jey Uso. If that match happens to happen at the event, I think most likely it will. So they have Payback next month in Pittsburgh in September. So they have an opportunity to get me excited for some of its stories that's going to happen there. Because if not, well, guess we're going back to NFL football, ladies and gentlemen. Like, fully. If WWE doesn't convince me with some of its stories at Payback. So that is your SummerSlam review. Pretty lengthy one, but there's a lot to talk about taken away from this show. I'd like to know your thoughts on SummerSlam 2023. What did you guys think about the matches? What was your highlights of the night, your match of the night? What did you think about the main event, Tribal Combat, Roman versus Jey? Yeah, I'd like to get all your thoughts on SummerSlam 2023, whether it's in the comments on YouTube or on social media in a DM on Twitter, not X, we're not calling it that, or Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. So, real quick, I want to close out the show with some Raw aftermath, the Raw after SummerSlam 2023 thoughts, like a little bit of a mini review of sorts. But for like earlier in the day though, like before Raw, starting with like my Raw mini review, I guess. Earlier in the day, it was announced by TMZ, yes, of all places, before the dirt sheets got it. TMZ reported that the curse of the women's tag titles claimed another victim. This victim that was claimed, Sonya Deville, one half of the women's tag team champions, caught a torn ACL 2 weeks ago in New Orleans on SmackDown during that tag team match against Charlotte and Bianca. So, very unfortunate news there. Speedy recovery to Sonya Deville. And I'm unfortunate for Chelsea Green because She actually is a decent wrestler in terms of her persona. And yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do with the women's tag team titles since they haven't technically vacated it yet. But this is just another indication of like WWE needing to abolish the women's tag team championships. Like, burn it, dump it, put it in the dumpster, do something to get rid of it forever and ever. Amen. So if this isn't the wake up call for both Vince and Triple H to get rid of these women's tag team titles, like, again, it's not being the S word. It's just because there's been nothing good, like, legitimately for these titles since like the last year or so. I guess also since the beginning. If this isn't the wake up call that they need, then I don't know what is anymore. Because I guess for as much as I dislike their on-screen presence, Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out triggered a snake effect. Because again, nothing has been good around these tag team titles other than 4 injuries, 1 write-off that was never followed up on, and then 1 departure. Aaliyah got injured. Dakota Kai got injured. Lita was written off. Liv Morgan got injured twice, which we still don't know the legitimacy of that injury. And Ronda Rousey has now just left the WWE after eventually she lost the tag team titles. And now Sonya Deville has a torn ACL. So it's like WWE has to see the writing on the wall that they need to abolish the tag team titles. Because this thing is as cursed as everything that the Chicago Cubs has done prior to winning the World Series in 2016. It's like, it's literally that cursed. Is that bad? So, WWE, get rid of them. Like, it's not being the S word. It's not being the M word. It's just literally that bad. It's just literally not, it's not good right now for these women's tag teams to carry them. It's like whenever you touch them, they get snake bitten. So yeah, I don't know what WWE's gonna do with them. I really hope they don't do another tournament. I just hope they just let it fade in the background and they just throw it in the trash and then try to figure out an alternate solution. Hell, I don't even know if introducing a mid-card title would make any difference, because who knows, that might get snake bitten too at this point. But either way, WWE, you have to eventually phase out these women's tag team titles, because they have brought nothing but bad luck for the last 2 years, and probably even since the beginning. So ditch them, get rid of them. They're not good. So let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. Let's go quickly through the miscellaneous stuff first before we get into the main meat potatoes for this show. Because there's a little bit to follow up from SummerSlam, but not that much, because this show was just eh. It was just eh. So Chad Gable, thank you, won a fatal 4-way match to become the #1 contender to face Gunther, the Ring General, in a future Intercontinental Championship match, even though he lost a championship contenders match, like the second match between the two. So I don't know. So that match will likely be at Payback. I don't think Chad Gable's going to win, but he has sold me a little on the Alpha Academy team with Otis and Maxine Dupri. But considering that Gunther would be just within a week away from tying the Honky Tonk Man's record, I think WWE is gonna let Gunther retain and win, and then let him surpass Honky Tonk Man's record. So I mean, it should be a interesting match, but I think they're gonna let Gunther hold on and win. Then you had a segment that set up a feud between The Miz and LA Knight. Yeah. So essentially the brand split is dead because LA Knight's a SmackDown star, but he's on Raw. But you already know my thoughts on the stupidity and uselessness of the brand split now. But anyway, this was a good feud. This was a good promo though, because hey, at least it has 2 guys that can cut promos. I mean, I don't know, Miz though, but hey, The Miz, he gets jealous over LA Knight, getting the star treatment after winning the Slim Jim Battle Royal. And then he calls him out over the lack of respect for him, despite the Miz's own accolades. And then they both engage in probably the highlight of the night. It's really nice promo battle. Miz, you know, he actually has some pretty good mic skills. I just think that, you know, everything else is just not there. He hasn't drawn anything. He is one of the worst WWE champions in 2011. So yeah. Anyway, though, LA Knight, you know, he did very well to hold his own. And actually, however, though, when the Miz presented pure facts, like, you know, being the WWE champion and unfortunately main eventing WrestleMania against John Cena, being a multi-time Intercontinental champion, but still, these are facts. These are accolades that he has, his own backstories, you know, being an ambassador for WWE. LA Knight kind of like deviated from that. He didn't even have any counter arguments to the Miz's promos, and he was just talking about, you know, he spent 20 years on the outside looking in. But, you know, I still say LA Knight, you know, has that natural charisma to cut promos, but it's just like the Miz won this promo battle, unfortunately, against LA Knight. But still, I think this is a good start for LA Knight's push. You know, these are still two very good mic workers, and yeah, it should be a good first feud for LA Knight's push. So now let's get into the main meat and potatoes of this show, and that was pretty much as it been for the last 2 months. Cody and Steph, you know, in the Judgment Day. So Cody Rhodes, you know, comes out and gets the grand treatment. Like, whoa, he's done with this feud with Brock Lesnar, and then out comes Seth Rollins, looking stupid as ever again, with his giant ass Crocs, his yellow Crocs. Like, goddamn. You know, I saw a picture on Twitter. You know, it has this shot of Seth Rollins and Cody, you know, having it stare down, and it has, like, you know, the presentation of, like, you know, like a comparison of your two top stars in WWE, even though they're not really stars. But at least with Cody, you know, he presents himself like how a athlete should, and then you have Seth. Your world heavyweight champion look like a goof. It's like, I don't think Dean, like when Dean Ambrose was WWE champion, you know, at least it fit his character. Yeah, he looked like a bum, but I don't think even Dean Ambrose would approve of that shit. It's like, what? It's like, you know, having this like that stupid laugh, and then the Crocs, and then dressing like, and then dressing without a shirt. This is your world heavyweight, like your world heavyweight champion, by the way. Meanwhile, you have Cody Rhodes. You know, the neck tattoo is stupid, but at least he presents himself as a world heavyweight champion. That's not a world heavyweight champion. Like, even without the belt. Like, yeah, Cody's kind of like a mid-carder, but he at least presents himself nicely in a suit. You don't see that in Seth. You don't see that in Seth. Like, come on here. It's like, oh, but you're just behind the times. You're not into the trends. It's like, fuck the trends. These trends are stupid. Like, Seth, what Seth's doing is stupid. Okay? Again, these are just my opinions. You can rag on them all you want. But these are just my opinions, and my opinions alone. But anyway, back to Raw. Cody and Seth teased reuniting their feud, except this time for the World Heavyweight title. But the Judgment Day come out. They confront Cody and Seth, and then Finn Balor out of nowhere comes from the crowd. You know, just like he's done for the last 2 months. He attacks Rollins, and then they outnumber Cody and Seth. And then Sami Zayn comes out and to even the score, and then that sets up your main event of the night. Cody and Seth and Sami Zayn. So Seth and Trent take on the Judgment Day, and just like, we've been doing this for 2 months now, and like, can we get something new, something fresh? Like, this has been going on for two months now. Judgment Day, a variation of Judgment Day going up against a variation of Seth and Friends. They're just interchanging. Like, they're interchanging these matches. It's like, do something different. You have multiple stars. Yes, they're jobbers for the most part. It's like, but change the damn thing up once in a while. Actually, more than once in a while. Like, goddamn. It's like, at least when you're in the Attitude Era, you changed it up with your stars. When you're in the Ruthless Aggression era, you changed it up with your stars. Even the PG era, you changed it up. It's like here, you like with the Judgment Day, it's like so much overexposure. God. So backstage, Finn and Damian Priest, they get into another argument. Rhea Ripley had to play Peacemaker again, and then JD McDonough, who was already talking with Finn Balor, he gave Damian Priest an idea. He told both Finn and Damian that Money in the Bank contract that Damian's holding is calling dead divide, and he should find a way to ditch it. Pretty much cash it in as soon as possible. And then that got Damian Priest all angry that, like, why is he talking and all that? So, yeah. And then later in the night, Sami Zayn was attacked by JD McDonough, and it was also revealed that Sami Zayn might also be dealing with a legitimate elbow injury, like in the form of his own, his own elbow injury. Kind of looks the same as like John Cena's baseball elbow that he suffered 10 years ago, before SummerSlam 2013. And then after that, he had to take time off to let it heal. So yeah, that's not good considering that Kevin Owens is also out too, trying to heal from those fractured ribs. So yeah, you have to wonder like what's going to happen with the tag team titles. So injury mania is really running wild in WWE right now. Not just NFL, but WWE again. So anyway, we had the main event with Seth and friends taking on the Judgment Day for like the millionth time. Before the main event, though, Raquel Rodriguez, who was, still trying to get medically cleared to face Rhea Ripley for the women's world title, she came out anyway again to attack Rhea Ripley before the main event. And by the way, it's like, with the dudes in Judgment Day, it's like they're such pussies and not trying to like separate Rhea Ripley from Raquel. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You're just being observers. Like Dominic, I would understand because he's already a wuss enough. But it's like Finn and Damian are just like in the ring, just looking at all the action. Maybe they're just like observing all the action. It's like, okay, if you don't know what I'm doing, like on audio, it's just like I'm just nodding my head up and down. So maybe just like, oh, okay. But anyway, maybe for Raquel, I don't know about Rhea, but. So anyway, Raquel and Rhea are fighting. They're brawling on the entranceway. Officials are trying to separate them, and as well as Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, who were tending to Raquel backstage earlier. I don't know why they suddenly showed up, but nonetheless, they also get into Rhea Ripley, who attacked them during the brawl. And yeah, looks like they're now going all in on the build. Since they didn't get the match at SummerSlam, they're getting a payback. And looks like there could be a couple matches for Rhea to set that match up with Raquel, with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell in the next possible 2 weeks, so we can lead to that match with Raquel Rodriguez at Payback, and then eventually in the storyline get her medically cleared. So now you have the main event. You have again Seth and friends. Oh yeah, by the way, taking Sami Zayn's place was Shinsuke Nakamura, who already had a match with Bronson Reed. Earlier in the night, he volunteered as tribute to be Sami Zayn's replacement. And I kind of knew where this was going, but we'll get there why in a bit. They beat the Judgment Day with help from Sami Zayn, the injured Sami Zayn. He took out Damian Priest. Finn Balor, who was, again, had the opportunity to use the briefcase as a weapon, but Seth took him out with the super kick to the briefcase. And then Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads. And then, yeah, we have the good guys standing tall once again on Raw. So yeah, we have the happy ending, just like we have every so often on Raw. But as we were about to get the close off with the happy ending, out of nowhere, Shinsuke Nakamura hit the Kinshasa on Seth Rollins, while Cody and Sami Zayn were pandering to the fans. And yeah, Shinsuke walked away as Raw went off the air. So yeah, that's your likely next major title feud for Seth Rollins. I think he's done with the Judgment Day. And now I don't know what's going to happen with the Judgment Day now. But hey, at least it's finally something not Judgment Day related around the world title. So finally, as much as like I won't care about too much with Seth and Shinsuke, at least it's finally something different. Like we've had to deal with Judgment Day and Seth and friends shit for the last 2 months. And it's like, my God, that was some of the cringiest shit ever. As a wrestling fan, Like, I don't know why people were so invested into that crap. Like, but finally, I mean, this might be not be all that different, might not be all that like better, but it's at least something different. It's at least a different change of pace to rather than Seth and friends every week, a different variation of them fighting against the Judgment Day, the Judgment Lame. Speaking of the Judgment Lame, they can finally move on to trying to handle their business, try to be at peace, you know, trying to rip off the bloodline even more. You know, as Damian Priest, Finn Balor, try to like get back at peace, but I doubt it this time around. So they're probably gonna have a match at Payback. What I think will happen, I think what should happen, is that Damian Priest puts his Money in the Bank contract on the line since JD McDonagh suggested that they get rid of the briefcase sooner than later, and that's what possibly leads to the briefcase being on the line between Damian and Finn at Payback. I don't know, but either way, I think either one of those guys gets kicked out sooner rather than later, and that probably inserts JD McDonagh into Judgment Day. But whoever gets kicked out, I don't know. It's either going to be Finn or Damian Priest. But then you have the question about Cody Rhodes. As I alluded to earlier, it's only the first week, only the first Raw after SummerSlam, but Payback, by the time we get to the next Raw, is 3 weeks away. Yet he doesn't have a feud coming out of it. And even a filler one he doesn't have. So it's like, what are you going to do with Cody Rhodes? Are you going to have him feud with the Judgment Day? Like, are you going to take Seth's spot in feuding with the Judgment Day? It's like, you already did one with Dirty Dominic. Now you're going to, like, who are you going to feud with next? Finn? Damian? Like, you're not actually going to do that because they're probably setting up something for Finn and Damian at Payback. You're certainly not going to feud with Rhea Ripley, are you? I would certainly hope not. So it's like, what are you going to do with Cody Rhodes at Payback? You only have 3 weeks by the time you get to the next Raw on Monday, you only have like 3 weeks to try and build something for Cody. And like, do you really want to do that? Like, really? I don't know. I imagine by this point, maybe just do like a segment with Cody at Payback. I mean, yeah, people want to see him in a match, but it's like, I don't know. Judging by things, like, people will be fine with a segment, I guess. I don't know. Either way, yeah, that was Raw for you. Not a whole lot happened on this show other than Shinsuke turning heel on Seth. That's going to be your world title match at Payback, I imagine, unless they do some stupid shit by having the Judgment Day get involved, and then you get a triple threat that some people were advertising on social media. But either way, I doubt it at this point. But yeah, at least they're moving stuff along for the next pay-per-view with Payback, like with Seth and Shinsuke, Rhea and Raquel. You know, they're at least getting stuff ready immediately. And then Chad Gable and then Gunther and then Miz and LA Knight on the Raw side. I noticed that there's not a lot of SmackDown stuff for these pay-per-views now, but it is what it is. But overall, yeah, that was Raw for you. If you happen to watch it, let me know your thoughts as well. But mainly, I'd like to know your thoughts about SummerSlam. And let me know your thoughts about the matches, the tribal combat stuff, just anything in general about SummerSlam and anything I talked about in this long ass episode that's about to hit like the 2 hour mark. But hey, like, there's a lot to catch up on with SummerSlam weekend and the aftermath of it. So I'd like to know your thoughts in this review, this late, out of date review, super late, of SummerSlam 2023. But anyway, finally now, we can sign off of episode 157 of Very Cold Lasagna. I'm your filthy casual host, Dylan Lasagna. Thank you for tuning in to this super long ass episode of the podcast. And keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. Again, stay up to date on what I have in store and all my extra filthy casual takes on social media at Very Cold Lasagna on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, peace out.